Segment 1, Israel versus Iran. Welcome to World War Whack-A-Mole. Let's begin with the latest from the Middle East, where the only thing rising faster than tensions is the number of people Googling, how far is Tehran from Tel Aviv? Sunday marked day 3 of the world's worst long-distance relationship, with Israel and Iran continuing to exchange airstrikes like they're playing Pokemon Go, but with actual casualties. In Iran, the official death toll stands at 224 civilian, but a human rights group put it over 400. Either way, Iran is basically being turned into a live-action Michael Bay movie with fewer slow-mo shots and more actual tragedy. Israel, meanwhile, lost at least 10 more people overnight and retaliated by targeting, checks notes, Iran's defense ministry, their nuclear program sites, and disbelieving, get this, their refueling aircraft 2,300 kilometers away. That's like flying from New York to Houston just to slap someone and fly back. The Israeli military even told Iranians to evacuate their military weapons production factories, which is basically like warning your Tinder date to leave your house before you call in a drone strike. And in case you're wondering, yes, Iranian missiles are still evading Israeli defense systems and hitting apartment buildings. One missile struck near Tel Aviv, killing 6, including 2 children. Another one hit Tamra. Another one hit Rehovot. At this point, if you're a city planner in Israel and you haven't renamed your town Nowhere Important, you're behind the curve. Iran has now opened up mosques and metro stations as bomb shelters. Imagine catching the 7:30 to downtown and praying you don't get bombed before you get to your prayer rug. And while the civilians suffer, world leaders do what they do best: hold emergency meetings and make statements that sound like AI wrote them. Trump said, "We're not involved, but if Iran hits us, we will unleash the full strength and might of the U.S. Armed Forces." Classic Trump, talking like a toddler who found the nuke codes in the cereal box. He also vetoed Israel's plan to assassinate Ayatollah Khamenei. Not because it's, assassination, but because it would inflame the conflict. That's like stopping someone from shooting a bear because it might scare the bees. Meanwhile, Turkish President Erdogan called Trump again, trying to de-escalate. When Erdogan is your voice of reason, it's officially opposite day. Rand Paul praised Trump for showing restraint, which in Trump terms means he only threatened to obliterate a country rather than actually doing it on Truth Social at 3 a.m. Segment 2, Axis of Resistance sounds like a WrestleMania tag team. Dude. If things weren't chaotic enough, the Axis of Resistance, which is not a Star Wars spinoff but very well could be, has officially joined the ring. The Houthis, Yemen's favorite drone club, claimed they struck sensitive sites in Tel Aviv in coordination with Iran. That's right, coordinated resistance from Yemen. It's like getting hacked by someone on dial-up. This conflict has gone full global group chat. We've got Iran, Israel, the U.S. subtweeting from the corner, Yemen sending missiles like postcards, and Russia and China probably watching with popcorn. And yet everyone involved keeps saying, we don't want war. Guys, if you don't want a war, maybe stop launching war things. It's like saying you're on a diet while mainlining chocolate syrup through a Twizzler. Segment 3, U.S. reaction. We're not in this, but also totally are. Back at home, Trump insists America is not involved, which is exactly what someone says right before they absolutely get involved. He also says Iran and Israel will make a deal. What kind of deal? A buy one, get one on uranium? Trump is playing real-time Risk on easy mode and keeps vetoing things like assassinations while sending vague threats through all-caps tweets. It's the foreign policy equivalent of your uncle at Thanksgiving yelling, "I don't want drama," right before flipping the table over cranberry sauce. And if you think Trump is the only one confused, nope. The EU is having an emergency meeting Tuesday. That gives them about 48 hours to decide on what? How stern the font should be in their strongly worded letter? Macron and Keir Starmer both said de-escalation too. Translation, we're hoping this resolves itself by the time the next season of Succession drops. Meanwhile, Iran's president warned that if strikes continue, their responses will be more decisive and severe, which is terrifying because so far their response has been hundreds of civilian deaths and missiles over Tel Aviv. What's the next level? Fireworks inside the Knesset?
Segment 4.
Minnesota manhunt, land of 10,000 lakes and one suspect. Back on American soil, a political assassination in Minnesota has triggered a massive manhunt. A state lawmaker and her husband were murdered, and the motive is reportedly political. You know, remember when political drama just meant someone got booed at a town hall? Now it's full-on noir thriller in the Midwest. The manhunt is statewide, involving every law enforcement agency that didn't already get pulled into January 6 hearings. And here's the kicker. This isn't even dominating the headlines because, you know, missiles. It's 2025, and America has to ask itself a serious question. Are we numb to everything, or is our news cycle so jacked up that a political assassination just gets a shrug and, well, at least it's not monkeypox again? Segment 5, Indianapolis. Pride, protests, and pool days. Meanwhile, in Indianapolis, yes, the city that never trends, there was a lot happening this weekend. First, thousands gathered for a peaceful No Kings protest, which is not a Game of Thrones convention, but a democracy rally. The message? America doesn't need monarchs, even the orange spray tan Truth Social kind. Right after that, 60,000 people packed the streets for Indy Pride. Imagine explaining to a confused tourist that all those rainbow flags, gavel signs, and medieval outfits are not 3 different parades. And in a gesture of pure summer diplomacy, 4 city pools offered free admission for Swim in Safety Day. Finally, something we can all agree on. Chlorine is better than Congress. Unfortunately, tragedy still struck. A man was killed by a car on Indy's northwest side. It was declared truly an accident, which in 2025 is a rare and precious sentence. Also, a 2-year-old was stranded after their parents were deported. Yes, that's the America we live in, celebrating pride and protest 1 block over from an immigration horror story. It's like a national mood swing in real time. Segment 6, Flash floods, America's water-themed apocalypse. Let's talk about a natural disaster, because why not add biblical flooding to our 2025 bingo card? San Antonio, Texas was hit with flash floods that killed 13 people. West Virginia wasn't spared either, with at least 3 reported dead. It's not even hurricane season, and the weather's already doing its best Michael Phelps impression. Texas officials have urged people not to drive through floodwaters, which is the same message they issue every year, right before people turn their pickups into submarines on TikTok. And in West Virginia, the water levels rose so fast, locals were using coal shovels as paddles. It's 1 part tragedy, 1 part American ingenuity, and all parts what in the climate change is going on. At this point, FEMA should just set up permanent office space in a van that moves wherever Mother Nature next decides to rage quit. Segment 7, local insanity. Indy police versus air cannon guy. Meanwhile, back in Indy, a video went viral showing a police officer using what can only be described as a pressure cannon to shoot a man during a post-bar fight. The man was charged with disorderly conduct and resisting law enforcement. And while that sounds bad, the part everyone keeps watching on loop is a cop launching a human being across the sidewalk like he's playing Grand Theft Auto Hoosier Edition. Police say the video only shows part of the incident. Of course it does. That's like saying the Titanic only partially sank. Yes, the man had marijuana on him, allegedly resisted and slapped the officer's hand. But here's the deal. When your go-to de-escalation tool looks like it belongs in a t-shirt cannon at a minor league baseball game, maybe rethink your playbook. Segment 8, Le Mans victory. Pole position for Poland and China. And now to sports. The thing we use to distract ourselves from literally everything else. Let's start with the 24 hours of Le Mans, the world's most exhausting car ride since your dad refused to stop for snacks. The number 83 AF Corsa Ferrari team, driven by Robert Kubica, Yufi Ye, and Philip Hansen, won for the 3rd straight year. And get this, Robert became the first pole to win outright, and Ye, the first Chinese driver to do so. That's right, folks. Poland and China teamed up to beat the French at their own endurance race. If that's not globalization, I don't know what is. It's the first time a customer team has won in 20 years. That's like a guy renting the tuxedo and then winning prom king. Somewhere, Elon Musk is yelling, "I want one too," into a steering wheel. Segment 9, Formula One, Canadian GP. Russell's royal victory. In Formula One, George Russell took the Canadian Grand Prix, narrowly beating Max Verstappen, who probably had flashbacks to all those Lewis Hamilton stole my lunch money days. But the big surprise? Rookie Kimi Antonelli snagged third place. This is like finding out your intern just beat you at the company fantasy football league and also dated your high school crush. The race ended under a yellow flag after McLaren teammates Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris collided in a late race duel. Yes, teammates. You know, people paid to cooperate. F1 drivers have the same idea of teamwork as Congress. Only one of us gets out alive. Segment 10. Washington Post cyber attack. Control-Alt-Panic. Just when you thought journalism was only under threat from billionaires and clickbait headlines, bam, cyber attack. The Washington Post reported that some of its journalists' emails were hacked. Sources say it could be a foreign government. Translation? Probably not Canada. The paper reset all staff login credentials, meaning every editor who still uses password 123 is having a meltdown. Now, the Wall Street Journal broke the story, which is like your sibling snitching on you before you even found the note under your pillow. No one knows exactly who's behind the attack, but I'll give you one guess. It's not a guy in a basement with Cheeto dust on his keyboard. No, this feels professional, like Russian professional, or maybe even North Korean, depending on the font of the phishing email. We're officially in an era where newspapers break news about their own breaches. In their own newspaper, it's the media Ouroboros. Segment 11, G7 Summit will fix everything in 3 days. And finally, the G7 Summit is underway, where world leaders gather to smile for photos, drink overpriced espresso, and promise to fix global problems before the dessert tray comes out. The summit's in Canada this year, home of maple syrup, politeness, and Justin Trudeau's eternal youth. On the docket, war in the Middle East, climate catastrophe, cyber warfare, trade, basically every page of international problems for dummies. But fear not, the G7 will do what they always do, release a joint statement that says we are concerned, and then immediately go wine tasting in Nova Scotia. Honestly, if the G7 were a TV show, it would be Veep meets Survivor, with a guest cameo from Greta Thunberg silently judging them from a canoe. Closing remarks. That's it for this explosive edition of Klepper's Corner. Today's global vibe is chaos with a side of chlorine. The world's burning, the Midwest is swimming, the Middle East is exploding, and somewhere out there, a hacker is probably reading the script in real time. Remember, if you're feeling overwhelmed, just picture the G7 arguing over cheese plates while Earth's Wi-Fi slowly collapses. Stay dry, stay skeptical, and if you see a missile in your neighborhood, just remember, that's not fireworks. Unless you live in America, in which case maybe it is. Good night.